Matters of concern to the school committee. The sessions are not designed to encourage debate or lengthy exchange of views, but are to have the committee understand numerous points of view. The committee would appreciate speakers keeping their presentation to 3 minutes in order to accommodate as many people as time permits. The chair reserves the right to limit the number of speakers on the same topic to 3. All speakers must be at least 18 years of age or enrolled in high school in the Lynn Public Schools District and having discussed their views with a student government representative. The chair reserves the right to rule the speaker out of order if he or she feels that the speaker's comments are personal in nature. If a speaker's comments are directed at a school committee member or a member of school administration in attendance, that member, through the chair, may address the individual. The sessions will promptly commence 15 minutes prior to the start of the regular school committee meeting. And we do have someone sign up here, Dina DePardo. If you'd like to please come step forward and just state your name and address. Sure. Thank you. You can sit if you don't mind, because then you can talk into the microphone so the folks on TV can hear. Yeah.
Name and address?
Yep, please.
Sure. My name is Dina DePardo. I live at 12 Carter Road in Lynn. And, so I'll start. So, good evening. My name is Dina DePardo, and I'm a reading specialist at Sisson Elementary School. I wanted to first recognize Jane Franklin, our principal, who has dedicated 50 years of service to the Lynn Public Schools and the Lynn community. Last Friday, the Sisson staff was informed that Jane's last day would be today. Over the summer, when the position for principal was posted, there were public interviews that included Sisson staff. Our staff wrote a letter to the school committee voicing our concern for the abrupt change of leadership, which in this instance did not include any input from Sisson staff or caregivers of Sisson students. Last year, Jane stayed on as to not leave the school so we wouldn't be without a principal. We don't understand why she had to leave so abruptly involuntarily. We, the Sisson staff, are disappointed with how the events transpired. Imagine if the students could have had the proper time to see their principal walk the hallways with new leadership for a more seamless transition. Imagine if other administrative leaders in our school had time to prepare and give insight to the new leadership. As Dr. Alvarez stated in an email to the Sisson staff today, she worked behind the scenes to find the best leader for the school, but without any input or insight from the Sisson staff. On behalf of the Sisson staff, we wanted to be on record that we are disappointed in the lack of transparency around what has happened and what will happen moving forward. We also again thank Jane for being a dedicated part of the Lynn Public Schools for so many years. Her impact on students was seen up until the very end, where her office was flooded with students giving her cards and farewells at dismissal. Jane deserves that recognition and so much more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else for open mic? Anyone else wishing to speak at open mic? Last call for open mic. We will close the open mic. Thank you. And we will call to order the 17th regular meeting of the Lynn School Committee. Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Present.
Member Capola?
Present.
Member Dugan?
Present.
Member Gately?
Present.
Member Magnolia?
Present.
Member Pena?
Present.
Mayor Nicholson?
Present. Could you all please rise for a salute to the flag, followed by a moment of silence.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence in memory of Bernard Ranahan, a former teacher who passed away on September 22nd, 2023, and Marilyn McGinnis, retired teacher, passed away October 11th, 2023. Thank you. Next item is the minutes.
Make a motion to accept the Personnel Subcommittee meetings of October 10th, 2023, accept the Building and Grounds Subcommittee meeting on October 12th, 2023, and the 15th regular meeting on October 12th, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Before we get into appointments elections, I forgot to welcome back our student representative. Andy, welcome back. Glad to have you. All right. Thank you. Appointments or elections?
Good evening, everyone. So we're proud to say we have a interim principal at Shoemaker School. And so we welcome Deborah McEnany, who had been at the school for 20 years in another capacity and is very excited to take on this role, while Dr. Christina Colella is the interim over at as a special education administrator. Then we have 4 school nurse elections, so I will name them, and then you can move forward with those. Allison Levy, Sarah Schreiner, Jennifer Van Kampen, and Ann Zagarella.
So, Greasepace, do we need 4 separate motions as long as we name, or can you name all of them in the same motion? So we could name all of them in the same motion if folks are okay doing that, yeah.
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, so we'll do a roll call, and you need to read the names, please. Yeah.
Member Castellanos?
Allison Libby, Sarah Schreiner, Jennifer Van Kampen, Ann Zagarella.
Member Capola?
Allison Levy, Sarah Schreiner, Jennifer Van Kampen, and Ann Zagarella.
Member Dugan?
Allison Levy, Sarah Schreiner, Jennifer Van Camden, and Ann Zagarella.
Member Gately?
Allison Levy, Sarah Schreiner, Jennifer Van Kampen, and Ann Zagarella.
Member Magnolia?
Allison Levy, Sarah Schreiner, Jennifer Van Kampen, and Ann Zagarella.
Member Pena?
Allison Levy, Sarah Schreiner, Jennifer Van Kampen, Ann Zagarella.
Mayor Nicholson?
Allison Levy, Sarah Schreiner, Jennifer Van Kampen, and Zagarella. Thank you, everyone. Which brings us to presentations and attendance.
Slideshow at the top.
Good evening, everyone. Really excited to be presenting this evening. When I think about the trajectory of our attendance initiative that began in 2018 to this date, the evolution and the changes that have taken place in this district as a result, I think most about the change in our lens from pre-attendance initiative, where it was a compliance enforcement lens, to the beginnings of the attendance initiative, where we truly moved to an SEL family engagement lens and created a department that has grown and is doing some really good work. Presentation themes this evening. Thank you. So sorry. Presentation themes this evening: to reaffirm the vision of every student every day, explain the importance of multi-tiered systems of support, differentiate the terms of attendance and chronic absenteeism because they are markedly different, present current attendance data, present and explain newly established secondary attendance protocols and procedures, and provide you with a quick overview of our Power School attendance suite that we purchased late spring. Every student, every day, is committed to informed family support and engagement, nurturing a culture and climate that is equity-driven and student-facing, where the goal is the academic success and emotional well-being of all students. a predominant theme in our vision and our mission of the attendance work is that student attendance is everyone's business. Here we have a visual of the multi-tiered systems of support. When you look at this, you need to know that when you're looking at the green, Tier 1 supports, that is what we provide for all students. When you're looking at the yellow, those are the supports that are provided for some students. And when you're looking at the red, very few students receive those services. The important thing to know and understand when we're talking about multi-tiered systems of support is that our focus and 99% of our work is in Tier 1, right? And so when we're talking about the attendance initiative in our work and what we're trying to promote in schools, we're talking about some of the best practices committed to wellness meetings, promoting a sense of belonging in our schools, emphasis on providing attendance education, promoting equitable communication and translation for all of our families, commitment to building positive relationships. That is the focus. Those are some of the foci of Tier 1 intervention. When you don't have the work focused in on Tier 1, what you end up with is an inverted triangle. And sadly, you begin your work in Tier 3. So pre the attendance initiative, it was pretty common for us to go in and file a CRA without having done all that work in Tier 1.
Yeah.
So that's really important stuff. And we've done a lot of work in educating our schools to the importance of multi-tiered systems of support and making sure that their focus is in the green, as is ours. Something I've reviewed before, but just a quick reminder about the term of attendance versus chronic absenteeism. Attendance refers to how many days a student is present, and that includes both excused and unexcused. Attendance percentages are calculated by the number of days present divided by 180, but also the number of days present divided by membership enrollment. How long a student has been enrolled within the district. This is versus chronic absenteeism. Chronically absent represents the percentage of students who miss 10% or more of their days in membership. Chronically absent is calculated by 10% of 180, which is 18 days, and also the calculation for membership. What I want to emphasize here is that school attendance is not a measured accountability indicator. Chronic absenteeism is. And when you think about the importance of that focus, when you focus on chronically absent students, the focus is on our most at risk and our most marginalized students. When you focus on attendance, you focus on all. There really is a different, okay? Here we have LPS attendance comparisons from school year 21-22 to school year 22-23. There's good news here. There's lots of celebration here. All schools across the district improved their attendance rates from school year 21-22 to school year 22-23. I want to give a big shout out to Fecht O'Leary. If you're listening, Mara, Fecht O'Leary had the greatest gains in attendance.
Yes.
And that's really a point of celebration for that school.
Yes, it is, yes.
Of all the levels, middle school had the highest attendance percentages at 95% across
Wow.
every middle school.
That's
And then the district also saw good growth with a 5.7 percentage increase. Now we're going to look at the LPS chronic absenteeism comparisons for school year 21-22 to 22-23. And again, there are lots of points of celebration. There's still work here, but I'm going to highlight the positive in our points of celebration. All schools with accountability data have reduced their chronic absenteeism rates. 7 schools reduced their chronic absenteeism in the double digits. And I want to give another huge shout out to the Brickett Elementary that had the greatest improvement in chronic absenteeism. And when you look at Brickett in 21-22, that school had 40% of their students chronically absent in that school year, and they decreased it to 25%.
Wow.
That's an amazing achievement. And my guess is that school in its practices focused on those tier 1 pieces that I referenced earlier. And there's a lot of good success here, but I wanted to give that shout out to Brickett. Here we have more aggregate data. Both the non-high school group, which is grades 3 to 8, and the high school group, grades 9 to 12, reduced their percentage of students who were chronically absent. The district non-high school decreased their percentage by 6.5 percentage points, and the high school by 7.8. But when you look at these chronic absenteeism rates, there's still there's a lot of concern. And for example, when you look at the high school rate of chronic absenteeism in school year 21-22, you're talking about 53% of students who are chronically absent. Decreased to school year 22-23 to 45%. Both the non-high school and the high school groups met their DESE targets. But still, there are concerning numbers there. You know, I'm highlighting positives and doing celebrations, but when it comes to chronic absenteeism, it is a profound concern. So here we have a graph that shows you the chronic absenteeism rates from school year 2018 to school year 23. And what I've listed here are what I'm calling chronic absenteeism realities. Clearly, from school year 22 to 23, you know, we're moving in the right direction, and that's a point of celebration. But when you look at the next bullet point, when you look at the chronic absenteeism rate in 2019 to 2022, right? Pre-pandemic to post-pandemic, it's very concerning. I mean, in 2019, 18.6% of our students were chronically absent. Post-pandemic, 2022, 41.4% of our students were chronically absent. And part of the problem is, you know, it's become a national phenomenon that being absent has become normalized. For school year 22-23, our overall chronic absenteeism rate for the district was 34.6, as outlined, compared to the state at 22.2. It is well known that chronic absenteeism is a national problem. It is not just a local issue. It is not just our problem. It's not just a Massachusetts problem. It is a national problem. DESE is proclaiming we need an all-hands-on-deck approach to handle this. These numbers are profoundly concerning. Over 75% of schools in Massachusetts have a chronic absenteeism problem. The Board of Education is issuing a call to action for parents and families and emphasizing partnership with schools. I mean, chronic absenteeism, I mean, we're doing all kinds of things on the, you know, with emphasis on Tier 1, on our clinical model, and looking to make our schools a warm and welcoming place for students to be, to address mental health issues, but we're still struggling.
Yeah.
And it really highlights the need to reaffirm the core value that I mentioned earlier, that attendance is everyone's business. It doesn't matter who you are in the school system, whether our students are present each and every day is all of our business and all of our concern. So this graphic is a graphic that I want to give you the backstory to this. Over the summer, the attendance office, we put together a group of stakeholders from district people to school people that included all of representatives from all of our middle and secondary schools, principals, vice principals, guidance, teachers, and looking at basically how we take attendance. Because one of the things that we acknowledged that was a problem is that how we were taking attendance wasn't calibrated, it wasn't consistent, and we also became very much aware that we were marking students present that were not in the building. Okay? And that's a safety and security issue. All right? So we came together over 2 meetings and really worked on what are the systems and what are the protocols that need to be in place, and what are the procedures, and what are the struggles that you're having. And nobody knows that better than the people in the buildings. So this document was created, it was presented at the beginning of the school year. So I'll go over big ideas or highlights from this. Basically, what we said is that in the homeroom, there's an expectation that all attendance is submitted by 8 a.m. That seems simple, but it wasn't an established expectation with a timeline. The next big idea of substitute teacher attendance, this, when we met, was highlighted as a huge issue. When we had substitutes in classrooms, particularly at the secondary, but we also learned that at the elementary, we have less of an issue at the elementary than we do at the secondary. But attendance was not being taken. There was paper attendance procedures, so to speak, but it was problematic. And as a result of the group's meetings and brainstorming, we came up with the idea of, we've established and put into place attendance iPads that are in every building. When substitutes go into a building, they go to the main office, they get this attendance iPad so that they are able to take attendance for the entire day. The other thing that we created as a result of that was a sub-portal. They have their own portal to be able to take attendance. That substitute teacher attendance was probably one of the biggest eye-opening struggles that the secondary people presented to us. And I feel like we put some really good systems in place to address that. Tardy kiosk protocols and procedures were calibrated across the district in terms of exactly when, up to what point students would be marked tardy, and then the procedures for that. Next bullet of period attendance protocols. This was the other major piece to the work, because there were, period attendance wasn't consistent across our district, where students were the taking of attendance every single period. The other thing that was, the other system that was in place, so that if you didn't take attendance, a student would automatically be marked present when nothing was put in. And that is really how, we went astray in not knowing who was present and who wasn't present. That automatic default to students being present was problematic. We've changed that. So we've created these period attendance protocols that teachers have to follow, and they have to mark a student present or absent. Okay. We also run reports at a certain time at the end of every day to make sure that period attendance has been put in. And there are accountability measures when attendance is not, and that report goes daily to the principal. The next one, impersonation of a colleague's account, is really about if I'm filling in for a colleague, I'm able to take their attendance. We also created attendance clerk guidelines, particularly around issuing attendance reports, and so that we were consistent across all the schools, and that attendance clerks knew their duties and responsibilities to those reports. And we also created a parent notification system twice a day. So the first notification is at 9:30. We added a second notification All right, so if you're a parent and your child misses third period or third and fourth period, at 3 o'clock, you will be notified what periods they missed or if they weren't there. The plan or the hope for was that full implementation of the Power School Suite and all of this would be, I believe all of this is in place. My next slide is about the Power School Attendance Suite that we also put into place to fortify all of the other things that we've done. And really about with the goal of strengthening communication with families. Nice piece here that I was really excited about, and this is a Tier 1 intervention, all students, is that this is not in place. This will be in place hopefully by next week. And I'll explain after what the holdup has been. But every family in the district, for every student, will receive a digital postcard every month. Reporting out to you what your student's attendance is, whether they're approaching the green, they're heading towards chronic absenteeism, where they are. So that is a Tier 1 intervention that will really keep parents informed and up to date. As somebody who used to run attendance meetings, you bring parents in and you chat with them about their students' attendance. Many families are shocked when you say, your child has missed this number of days. It builds quickly. So I'm really excited about that attendance report, that attendance postcard that will go out to all families. The other feature of the attendance suite is that we will have all of our attendance letters are automated in all of our languages. So if a family chooses, that they want all their correspondence in Spanish, any letter to them would be sent out in Spanish. Third piece is two-way texting. Once this is in place, our teachers and families will be able to text and communicate with one another immediately all through this system. It will have an app. That also, the texting will auto-translate to the family's designated language. This will also provide us a permanent record of all communication, and it will track delivery and receipt of communication. And another nice feature, because sometimes we just have no idea that we've been blocked, it will tell us if we've been blocked or we're sending to a disconnected number. I see the implementation. We really worked hard to bring this in. I'll tell you the holdup. When you engage with a company, they promise you the world. And the holdup has been in the level of translation that we're demanding of all of our communication. We expect that to be fully implemented within 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Thank you so much, Member Magnolia, Member Castellanos.
Thank you very much. I have a laundry list of very specific questions. I hope this is okay. Do we expect that DESE might change any of its guidelines for remote work in any of the future, given that this is a statewide issue? I know that clearly there was like a little bit of a grace period, and then they just said, no more, doesn't count anymore. Is there any sense that that might be loosening?
No.
No. Okay, thank you. I told you it's a laundry list. Okay. How are we dealing with chronic absenteeism that is specifically related to some of the mental health challenges that students might be experiencing post-COVID? For instance, right, we know that a lot of students just have disengagement with school as a result of, I don't know if I would say it's necessarily kind of the trauma of what happened to them or their families during COVID, but we'll just say the environment during COVID. So if you can talk a little bit about how we're kind of globally dealing with some of those mental health challenges.
I'm going to bring up the expert. Mrs. Hofnagel. And she's going to, it's timely that we're both doing a presentation together because Mrs. Hofnagel's going to be doing an SEL presentation for you. And I think, in terms of, I'm going to let her address the question, but you know, the building of our clinical model is powerful and strong, and she can speak to.
Yeah.
Good evening. It really starts with assessment and getting the actual information and the data about what students are struggling, and having those important interviews, clinical interviews about what's going on. And so I don't have current numbers for you, but it starts with what's going on, how can we be of assistance, what services are needed, and we start there. And it's a very individualized approach. And one of the things I wanted to talk about later is just how grateful I am that the district supported to bring on so many additional mental health staff to do tiered level of support. So while we have had a spike and it's busy in our schools, we have enough staff to manage. And we do have community partnerships to make referrals and so forth. And we are seeing, as I talk to some of the community leaders of the outpatient mental health centers, their wait times are starting to shrink. So we're getting a little bit more stabilized. But it was rocky there for a while, and you all know that. Yeah. I hope I answered that.
No, that's perfect.
I know it
Thank
wasn't very
you.
specific.
No, but that's exactly what I wanted to know. So thank you. For the Power School postcards, et cetera, does a parent need to be on Power School to get them, or are they text push notifications regardless of whether you have the Power School app?
I think you have to have the app, and I think we'll do a campaign
Okay.
to make sure that we promote that.
So I'm just going to give you a report from the trenches, which is that at the last PTO meeting I was in a room of obviously very engaged parents, and I was the only one who had the Power School app on. I think there's a lot of confusion around it, a lot of like, how do I use this? So I think that the district has to look really carefully at how it's educating parents to use the Power School app.
Yeah.
And so just a little bit of feedback, because this is only going to be as good as parents having it on their phone, because if they don't,
So Power School's pretty big. You know, there's Power School. This is going to be a whole separate app.
Got it.
With a ton of education with this.
We can make sure that at our next principal meeting, we will make sure that we bring that up and make arrangements to be sure the principals know how to share that information with their parents and do a, like Kim is wording, a campaign to bring parents in and actually help them get connected.
I think it is a communication campaign to really make sure, and also just to educate them what the benefits of this will be when they're getting this information.
I might suggest a recorded webinar that goes onto the LPS site afterwards, because I think, you know, folks who can attend it will be engaged and be trying to do it while it's going on, but then folks who can't attend it can access it afterwards.
Agreed.
And we'll do in English and
Magnolia.
Spanish.
Yeah, yes, okay. And then the last one, which is this, because I did have the Power School app, when there's an error in the reporting of presence versus absence, how do either students or teachers make that up? So like your kiddo's there the whole day, but like fourth period, it said they were absent. And so I keep getting the notifications, your kid is absent, your kid is absent. I'm like, they're at school. I don't understand how this is happening. Like, I wanted to call the school and say, I know my kid is there, but I'm getting these Power School notifications. So how are errors dealt with in that situation? And are they dealt with either the same day or afterwards? And if we don't have an answer to this question now, can we develop an answer to this question?
Yeah, I mean, they are dealt with in the same day. At the high school, obviously, we're dealing with those errors and that reporting accountability through multiple reports. We have less of an issue. And at the elementary level, I'm going to guess, I'm not sure why that's, I mean.
This was the middle school level that I was experiencing.
Middle school.
Yeah, so like.
Secondary schools struggle more with that than the elementary.
And I would say parents should call.
Okay.
Like, it's okay for parents to call. We need to know when there's a problem so we can address those problems.
Okay, so please put that in the webinar.
I will.
Thank you. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Castellanos.
Deputy Potts, thank you so much for your presentation. It's something that I was actually when I saw the presentation, I was so excited to see it come back because I remember that campaign. You know, every student, every day. I remember that. It was yesterday. I remember the initiatives, the power behind it, the families. I want to give a real shout out to Brickett, their PTO. Their PTOs, they were phenomenal. I think we got to give them some credit too because that percent, when I was looking at the data,
that much of a
Yeah.
decrease in chronic absenteeism is phenomenal.
it goes back to your lens of family engagement.
Yep.
I think it takes a village, and I think we got to go have a conversation with them to see how we're doing over there, and then maybe we can talk to some of the other buildings and see what we could do. I have a question around the data-driven practice, kind of the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. You didn't provide any data. It's a little disappointing. I would like to see each tier, like what that looks like, the percentage of students, what they look like, because I think there's a lot to say about, you know, how do students get to tier 2 and how do they get to tier 3, because they don't just end up at tier 3, right? So there's a lot of students that float around tier 1, tier 2, and I would like to kind of, hopefully next time, maybe soon, get data on those processes too, that student, because that's a lot of resources that we pump into our operation. I know it tails into SEL. We have a robust operation that's expanded over the last 6 years. I would like to start seeing some benchmarks and results. What does a successful intervention looks like? So if we got kids that, you know, we get them in tier 1 and they don't go to tier 2, or we have students that might go all the way to tier 3 where CRA is required. We got to realize where we focus in our resources and our strategies and what's working and what's not working, because that is a larger department. It's new. SEL, the capacity's tripled in the last 5-6 years. I remember when Marshall Middle School had one social worker and there was about 1,300 students. And I remember reading that letter from a Marshall Middle School student that told me that Mr. Cassianos, you need to bring some mental health support, and we need it bad. There's trauma. It hits every household, and these are roadblocks. And to see the interventions that I'm looking that are in front of me, it's inspiring, it's remarkable, and we need to, you know, continue to put accountability on it. Because if the state's coming in with their standards, we need to compete, and we need to utilize what we're investing in. So I think it's crucial. Next time, I would like to see that data and to see how. I think a good measurement is to see if we ever had if we had a reduction in CRA filings, because when you get to tier 3, we'd like to kind of see what that data looks like.
I can comment at a future date and give you the data on CRAs and on the tier 3 interventions that were outlined there. I can give you, I can provide that data, Brian.
And just for the public, could you explain what a CRA is, please?
A CRA is a child requiring assistance. I think you're the better person to explain to us what a CRA is, Brian. I'm still in the old days of calling it a CHINS.
Not wearing that hat right now.
Right. You know, it's when we've reached a point where a student is displaying behaviors or is at risk that we feel like we need to involve the court in helping to support that student. And as I outlined, hopefully we've done all that good work before in engaging them in the tier 1 interventions. And actually, when I do come back with that data, Brian, you will be pleasantly surprised to see that our CRA filings are markedly down and have gone down with the attendance initiative.
That's why I
do have that data.
I was hoping
I thought
you were going to throw that in there. You're waiting for it. I get it.
Okay. All right. I'll be back with it, Brian.
And my last point is tier 3. You know, those are some of our most at-risk youth students that require more attention and focus. That includes their family. And I think the family engagement piece that you guys have mentioned, you know, if you look at tier 1 to tier 3, though, it gets a lot more critical in tier 3. You look at the intervention. There's significant differences. There's also that's where we might lose students, and I think tier 3, tier 2, tier 3 are very important, right? All tiers. The reason why we have them, they're all critical. I think it's a statewide, a whole city. It takes a whole city to bring light to those tier 3. Because attendance does save lives. It prepares
To those
Yep.
students and families,
It
because
does.
they really are our most marginalized and our most at risk.
I appreciate it, and I have one more thing.
Okay.
So I'll be quick. I'm sorry, guys. I got carried away. For our middle schools, could you kind of elaborate why you feel that the percentages of, I think the attendance was 95%. I think it was interesting so what kind of was, could you elaborate a little bit why, how that
I think it's the effort they put in.
Yeah.
effort?
Yeah.
The students
And-
or?
The staff in general.
Yeah.
They put a tremendous amount of effort. You know, I've always said, sorry, Kim, I've always said middle school is that age range that is the most difficult. It's in between being a young child and being, you know, an adolescent, right? And it's kind of the lost ages that are changing so much. And the staff that work in middle school, it takes a special person to work in those grades. They are so dedicated to those kids and their success. I really think it comes down to the effort that the staff put in to getting them into school. Many of them added after-school programming to try and keep them engaged. They're always out on the street before school and after school trying to make sure kids are supported. It's really about the effort they put in.
You know, all of our levels, I believe, understand the importance of relationship, but I think at the middle school that understanding and need is almost acute. And the programs that we've set up there, like Breed All Stars and Project Yes, really do incredible work in reaching out to some of our more at-risk kids and providing them multiple days a week for a place to, you know, do homework, get support, have athletics. I mean, those programs really do wrap around our middle school students.
Thank you.
Thank you. Member Pena and then Andy.
Thank you, Deputy Kim Powers, on the presentation. I really, really liked it. I am very appreciative of the change of lenses, you know, to a SEL and, you know, family engagement, and focusing on this tier 1. Really, we're really trying to get to the underlying issues that's going on. You know, chronic absenteeism. I mean, after COVID, COVID exposed a lot of inequities and that's going on. And then when you got food insecurities, you know, housing insecurities, I mean, education's the last thing on people's mind. Families are in survival mode. And, you know, focusing on this tier 1, we really get into the underlying roots. And, you know, and another thing I like to add, like, trying to figure culture components, you know, find out, because some cultures play a role in some of the stuff, and getting to know and identifying certain issues, you know, and more family engagement. Just like, you know, like my colleague mentioned, Brickett, I saw all the, I follow their PTO. They were very engaged. They did a lot of, you know, community events, and they really engaged their parents, and I think that's a game changer, you know, and we really want to know, you know, we really got to you know, see where families are at, really, you know, focusing on getting the parent engaged, what's going on, is there food issues, is there a money issue, because nowadays some students have to go to work to help the family survive, you know, and we really want to get that. If it's, you know, if it's either we got to help parents get education, get some kind of technical training for family members, you know, even if we can have some type of, you know, that, you know, like you say, finding out if someone's best suitable for night school or something, you know, with your data, like you say, and, you know, finding out what's a better resource for families. And I am appreciative of this, and keeping, you know, our focus on tier 1 will really, you know, we'll really get into the, you know, underlying issues that our students face today. So,
You know, and I want to emphasize that this initiative, Every Student Every Day, pre-2018, this wasn't our focus. And we really the evolution of our practice and our lens is pretty dramatic.
Yeah. I was a child. I used to get chased by the guy. and there was a time I was a single dad, and I had two that had special needs. They had IOPs, and we had to deal with the truant officer ourselves. And I called it the chins back then. I had to end up getting that level, so I know.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of emotional issues that we couldn't get the help, that we weren't identifying at the time.
No, we did not provide those kind of
Yeah.
services
Yeah.
in our schools.
Exactly. We would have to go to outside help, and
Yep.
thank God for Children and Family and other services and community partners. Those are really great. That we need a partner with these other community groups to have help that we can't provide. So,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you. Andy, yeah.
Okay, well, I like the idea of this app, and I think I will be using it a lot to check my own attendance and be like,
Very good,
to, like,
very good.
come at my teachers, hold them
We're
accountable.
gonna promote it for family
That's good.
Yeah, but my concern is for like immigrant parents who aren't very tech savvy or like don't have like we live in a very like low income community, so parents who aren't very tech savvy, like my dad can't send a picture on Facebook. He needs my help to do that. So I'm just wondering if there's like a more tangible way for parents to know how their student is doing attendance-wise or otherwise during school, because I believe like using one of these apps might not work for those immigrant families, those families in need, just because they don't know how to get there. And like even with help, it's hard to do that. So I'm thinking about like maybe they could send like a mail to them, like personal like paper mail, like before phones in like 1950s, because they're all old, right? So if we could like send mail to their houses, because we send them by the student, they're never getting it. So if we get some idea like that, that might work.
Thank you for that input, Andy. Thank you so much.
Member Capola, yeah. And then Member Kennedy.
Yep. On the 8 a.m. attendance, and then you said the first time you'd be calling a parent or sending a message to a parent is 9:30. Now, previously, I know that was important. If a parent did not call their child in as absent, they were immediately notified, for safety reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Did something happen on the way to school? So, that's a concern to me
The
for
length
the
of time?
length of time.
Okay. Okay.
Just,
I can bring that back to.
okay. Okay, and definitely every school should have a PTA or a PTO in it, because we obviously can see the difference that has made in the Brickett School.
Yeah,
it's
and
just
I agree with
engaging
you.
them.
Everybody has captured that is a school that has really dramatic family engagement.
Yeah.
And involvement in their community, and it's clearly making a difference.
And
I also want to give a shout out to the principal, Shirley Albert Benedict, who I think has done an incredible job in her focus in this work.
And is there, on the note of the community schools, I know, it hasn't gone into effect, but I love community schools, so just wondering, is any part of that, as you're in the process of, finalizing and getting a vision on that, is this piece any part of that?
Yeah, and I think we make them a priority around our family engagement work. Groups of parents from both of those schools just attended a day-long conference.
Family Engagement Summit.
A summit on
Wow.
engagement, and we took groups of parents from both the Ford and the Washington School to that summit. And we're really looking to, establish what would be best practices around family engagement, community engagement in those schools, and educating the parents to what that looks like.
Great, it's great.
Got them the transportation we needed so that nobody would be left out, and, there was very good representation there.
Yeah, they got to hear the keynote address, they got to hear from the commissioner, they got to hear from Dr. Patrick Tutwiler, I think you know his name, and they also got to go to 4 different workshops at their interest area.
Yeah.
So we have keen eyesight on those schools around parent-family engagement.
Right? Thank you.
Thank you. Member Gately.
Okay. I'm going to look at the secondary lens, okay? So the first thing is, I'm like really happy to see the recording of daily attendance, especially at classical and English. With that long block schedule that we had in place for a year or so, I heard a number of complaints from faculty about the students come in, they don't want to stay in a class for 2 or 3 hours. I know we changed the schedule, so that's a plus, and this will just add to it. Can you concur that?
Yeah.
Thank you. And then the second thing is I am so thrilled to see, I wrote kudos on the subs, because when a substitute teacher walks into a building, if they have these little iPads and they can get the attendant, it's such a gift because
A simple technology has revolutionized taking accurate attendance.
because
Yeah.
these substitutes don't know. And a lot of times there's not a
They
plan.
have reference documents, they're trained, they check in, they check out.
So I
they're
really like
supported.
it. So I like the secondary, the middle and the high school and stuff and everything that's
And we
happening.
also brought them down to the elementary as well as a
Good.
result of.
Oh, good. But I know that's
It really
where,
made sense for all levels.
Yeah.
that's where a lot of kids, you can concur, when they go into a substitute, there's some guy, a girl, woman in there, and they just say, hey, we're gonna go to the bathroom, and then they take off and they're never seen again. So, and they checked in. So anyways, this is good, good stuff. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Member Gately.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Deputy Superintendent, thank you. And we're going into social emotional learning.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I know.
But I would get it.
That's all I could do, try, and it wasn't effective. Another game.
You know, that's why it's like, wow, that's amazing that it's been that long. Just going reactive mode. Chasing kids out. Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's hilarious. That's what I.
Yeah.
Hello again, everybody.
The chin.
Do you need a little bit more of a break, or are we
No,
good?
no, we're good.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Tina Hoofnagel, the Executive Director of Social Emotional Learning. And I just want to say thank you, because I've been able to do this fun work for a little over a year now. I started last October in my role as executive, and I've really enjoyed my work. So I want to also just say that I am partnered with 2 assistant directors of social emotional learning, Erin Heenan and Virginia Lee, and I'm very grateful for their partnership, their collaboration, and we work well together. So thank you. I just want to, gotta keep going here. Thank you. The presentation, this update is going to focus on just some brief mental health statistics to that's grounding our work. We're going to take a look at the services we offered, and again, in our Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 format. We're going to talk a little bit about the SEL professional development we're working on, and then I want to make sure that you're updated on our grants and community partnerships. I must say, and I think you all know, but I'm going to just say it briefly, our students and our families returned this September holding heavy emotional stressors. 47, just 2 data points here, but 47% of our parents said they were somewhat or very concerned about their children's mental health and emotional health. And this came from a May 2023 report from Mass Inc. polling group that had surveyed 1,500 students, parents of K-12 students. Also, John Crocker, I was at a MPY conference in May, and John Crocker, who is the founder of the Massachusetts School Mental Health Consortium, John stated that since the pandemic, students are reporting anxiety and depression rates at 2 to 3 times greater than before. We see it, we feel it, and we know it. So our Tier 1 supports in our schools, so this is what we're trying to do about things, what we have in place to help our students. We have our Caring Schools community curricula, which is teacher-led, K-5, and schedules have been organized so that our teachers are able to bring forward morning circles, weekly SEL lessons from Caring Schools, and positive, optimistic, warm goodbyes at closing time. We have our SEL signature practices being embedded in core content, 6 to 12. We have this past spring into the summer for fall, there was some planning, and we have ELA math and history adoptions, and we have ongoing collaboration with curriculum and instruction. Whenever there's a new adoption, SEL is partnering, and we're working to elevate the SEL practices within the classroom curriculum. We've mentioned many times and deeply appreciate the new model, and we brought forward full-time clinicians, 1 full-time clinician per 250 students, and currently we have 27 clinical supervisors and 68 clinicians supporting our pre-K to grade 12. As Kim beautifully mentioned, kind of hard to follow Ms. Deputy Superintendent Kim's presentations, but we partner with within the schools for the wellness and the attendance support teams, and that's our family engagement, a piece of our family engagement work. I also want to bring to your attention that we've had a long-standing partnership with Cradles to Crayons. They provide our partnership for backpacks, warm coats, and we've done a pilot project for having clothing and hygiene packs in the schools for those as-needed kind of situations. And our team supports various faculty trainings, trauma care, de-escalation, and if a principal, if they've identified a particular need in the school, we have resources to be able to provide professional development at faculty time. So Tier 2, this Tier 2 supports in our schools. We have student check-in, check-out. We have push-in classroom support. So these are our students that need a little bit more. And so we, through a referral process, we provide check-in, check-out with students, and we have staff going into the classroom to kind of observe the dynamics, to give some coaching there. We're trying very hard not to pull our students out. They need to be in the academics. We provide small group sessions. In the little grades, we refer to them as lunch bunch, but they're particularly skill-building groups, CBT groups, and there could be groups about friendship or groups about conflict resolution, and then we really just tailor it given the situation that's being presented. We do targeted family engagement. Family outreach and family engagement is key. We've mentioned it a couple different times. We're involved in that. And we very much partner with local community outpatient. We have our Lynn Community Health Center partnership with school-based clinics. We partner with Elliott, JRI, Leahy, some of the telehealth organizations and so forth. But it's so important that we, when we're having conversations with students and families, and that we're identifying when there's a need that they need to have ongoing therapy. And we provide a ton of community resource referrals. We do a lot to make sure that basic needs are met for our students. housing, food insecurity, so forth and so on. And our Tier 3 supports, we provide counseling supports as established in IEP team and 504 team meetings. We provide behavioral response, crisis response for the students. We provide support around allegations or evidence of child abuse and neglect with 51A screenings and follow-ups. We have the BRIGHT program in the Lynn Community Health Center. Apologies. Lynn Classical High School. And we have plans for expansion to LVTI, and with hopes to find space, make space for Lynn English High School. If you're not familiar with BRIGHT, it's a stabilization opportunity with a clinician and academic support, and they help to stabilize students as they're transitioning back from a hospitalization. And they have a soft place to land while they're regrouping and completing missed work, and there's a lot of collaboration to get the students so that they're back on track for their academics. And of course, we provide mental health safety screenings. So now I'd like to talk a little bit about our professional development collaboration. SEL is partnering with special education, DEI, data, and we have ongoing trainings to scale up our team on IEP training and the BOP process, IEP goal writing. We're partnering with DEI to plan for culturally affirming spaces. That's an ongoing work. Bobby and I are meeting on Mr. Bishop, interim Executive Director of DEI, Mr. Bishop. We have been also partnering with data regarding SEL screeners and student voice surveys. We met today, and we want to get a small little pilot project going so that we can have more information around the student perspective of how they're experiencing their school, their day, how they connect and how they belong. We are refining and strengthening our data collection process, and I'm going to share my vulnerability here. I am learning, and I have been taking a PD with John Crocker, all about looking at the appropriate assessments and screening tools, and I completed the second part of a 5-part training that will be finished at the end of December. And I am excited about a plan to put into place. I want to bring a few members of the clinical team for us to look at these tools. There are many great evidence-based tools out there for screeners that will help us to identify and give appropriate services. So I'm excited, but my vulnerability is that this isn't a strong area of mine, and I want to get better and smarter and faster around this. And also, we are working, it's been exciting to have an opportunity to weave just some basic SEL practices into the PLCs when we before we bring the principal PLC forward. We have a little bit of a SEL mindful moment, some deep breathing, just trying to transition from the meetings we had into, and the various assistant directors and directors are weaving that into the work, because we know that if we don't stabilize ourselves and get fully ready to engage, it's really hard to do the work. So that's been fun to offer that as well. So I want to speak to our community partnerships supporting our students. So while Massachusetts schools braced for the rise in student mental health needs, I am so pleased that LPS had planned well with the new SEL student support model to provide enough staffing to support our students in the tiered format. New this year is a formal partnership with the Alliance for Inclusive Practice to create evidence-based clinical trainings for the mental health. and we're focusing on a range of trauma-related mental health diagnoses, and this is SAMHSA funded. It's a 5-year grant. It's a wonderful opportunity for us, and it's going to really deepen and strengthen the clinical skill set of this newly organized team. Also new is our partnership with Elliott Community Human Services to support the high schools specifically. We're focusing on the high schools because of our data. That's where many of the mental health crises and safety crises, self-harm, as well as homicidality. We have, in partnership, we have a designated, this worker is employed by Elliott, but it's designated that they are our crisis stabilization clinician, and they can, upon a phone call about what's going on, they get deployed to our high schools and they assist. And it's a fast track to the emergency services at Elliott. And we're excited about this. It's new this fall, so we're still taking data and looking and getting the kinks out of how we do our work. And I also just want to say that we really lean into and we deeply appreciate our longstanding partnership with the Lynn Community Health Center, the school-based behavioral health, as they serve alongside the clinical team. So I really just want to thank all of you for your ongoing support of this work, and a word of thanks clearly to all the LPS staff that partner with SEL to ensure that our students are safe and secure. We'd be nowhere without our teachers, right? Our administrators, our nurses, our guidance counselors, BCBAs, hall monitors, and there's really so many more. I could list more, but we're very thankful for that ongoing work. And I'd love to take questions if you have any, and I always end my emails with peace, so I had to do it here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Dugan, Member Castellanos.
Okay. So thank you, Tina, for that presentation. That
Sure.
was great to hear. Just a couple questions.
Yes.
So the push-in model, could you kind of describe that? What that looks like? How do we, get to that with our kiddos?
So generally what happens is that a teacher observes that a student is struggling. And so they have consultation with one of the clinicians. And the clinician usually starts with a little bit of a observation, taking some data. I always encouraged when I was doing direct supervision that they go in at least 3 times, different times, and just take a look at what's going on. And then there's an opportunity to build that relationship with the student and just come along and do some coaching and so forth. It really just depends on what might be driving the behavior.
Right.
But it's not the only intervention we use, but we really, there are times that it's totally appropriate with parent permission and signed permission slips that a session happens in the clinician's office. But oftentimes, if you're talking about skill building, it's a wonderful intervention to go into the school and spend a little time alongside that student.
Right. Thank you.
Can I extend that a little bit?
course.
It also can be just that a child's having a difficult day.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of our classrooms have SEL toolkits that Tina and I actually developed back when
Ask
I was
about
in
that, so,
curriculum.
yeah,
And we
okay.
still
And we
support it.
still do that. They have soft places, like quiet spaces in their room for a student who's having a difficult day to go to just to have a quiet moment. But sometimes it's just that they need an adult to come in, and the instruction can still be happening, and the other adult comes in and just helps that child cope at that moment without having to pull them out of the room with loss of instruction, that they just need someone to help them get through it.
And I would imagine it less disruptive for the other students in classroom as well, right? Because you have that other adult.
Sometimes
so,
just
right.
come alongside a child
Yep.
and quietly remember, hey, remember your skills. Have you
Right.
done your deep breathing?
Right.
Just those little prompts
Right.
to
Right.
help self-regulate.
Yeah, and for our teachers, that's, we have 27, 28 students, you can't always do that with each one of them, so I do appreciate that. And then you mentioned a referral process to, again, get to that point, so could you describe the referral process a little bit? Like,
Yeah,
I'm
we-
assuming the teachers collect some data initially and then
Sure.
kind of go
So
from there?
We have a, every domain, needs to take some data and needs to put down on paper what their concerns are, and we have to have a starting point, right? About who we're going to be seeing and so forth. So SEL it's had for years, just a SEL referral form.
Okay.
And so it's just, boilerplate, name, so forth, checking off concerns and so forth. But one thing I do want to make sure people are aware, no clinician should be calling a parent that hasn't first had a phone call from the teacher.
Correct.
Just talking about, hey, I've been noticing this, I'm a little bit concerned, can we talk about this? And after that conversation, then the introduction about, we have supportive services in the district. Would you be interested in your child or hearing from the clinicians about what supports they could offer?
Okay.
And that's right in the referral. Have you had a conversation with the parent?
Right.
We really try to stress that.
Yeah, I wouldn't, yeah.
Nobody wants to hear from a mental health professional.
No.
you know,
Right.
off the bat.
No. And then the SEL lessons that are happening at our K-5 level. Is there a curriculum? We kind of alluded to it a little bit.
Yes.
Could you just maybe describe
Sure.
that a little bit?
So this was something that was decided upon, I believe it was school year 2018-19.
Okay.
It's going back a while, but a stakeholder group came together. We looked at a ton of SEL curricula out there, and we settled on the collaborative classroom as Caring Schools community.
Right.
So SEL provides the budget for, and they're kit-based,
Okay.
and their curricula, and there's guides, and it has been something that I'm going to be totally honest
Yeah.
here. There are some schools that hit it hard right from the beginning, and then COVID hit, and it got a little wonky with everything, and we are getting back on track with regular, because we deeply believe that having rigorous and robust SEL services, I'm sorry, here's my clinical hat on, curricula and materials, it's going to really help the climate and culture and reduce, behaviors in the classroom. So it's a clear tier 1 level resource.
Right. And I appreciate it because we're getting at those young ones too. So it's a level of expectation too for the Lynn Public Schools that we can hopefully that travels with them throughout. So
one of our goals is to have schools be wonderful places to belong and to have community. So when you start off with a morning meeting where every child gets a chance to connect and speak about something, and there's a prompt, it's a wonderful way to start out the day.
I agree. Start that way every day. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Member Castellanos and Member Gately.
Thank you so much, Tina, for your presentation.
Hello.
I have a follow-up, actually, from Member Dugan. Took half of my question, because I was going to ask, are we
Apologize, I'm
expanding to secondary? I don't know if there's, I remember we talked about this.
Right. So I don't know if you remember, last year, we did some work with a team, and we weren't comfortable and confident about what was out there for 6 to 12. Student reports were that it's canned, that it's corny. It doesn't really talk about their own community. And so DESE advises that there's 4 pathways to bring SEL practices into schools, and one of them is embedding signature SEL practices into the everyday work in the classroom. So that's the model that when I took leadership that I wanted to put forward and support, and I had the support of the superintendent and the deputies, and we're chipping away at it, and coming alongside the educators as they're working through adoptions. The history adoption, the text that they chose had SEL practices right in the textbook. So we're having that lens, and we're at the table when they're looking at adoptions and elevating the need for SEL, and we're chipping away at it that way.
Okay, I appreciate
That make
that.
sense?
It does for me, actually. My next question is, it's some clarification. For Tier 2 supports and Tier 1, we have, when I think about SEL, right, program, and I think about access and family engagement, what's the difference between targeted family engagement and wellness attendance support teams family engagement? Like, why
Yeah.
is one more robust? Because I think,
No, so when the wellness work is happening, data reports are run, and then there's some targeted intervention based on that month's data about what students might be spiking and moving toward, like having a little bit of attendance problem. So when I talk about targeted family engagement, it's also, it's an outpouring of the wellness work.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense.
yeah,
but
so
it's kinda how I make sense of it.
we're doing targeted family engagement in Tier 1 as well. So
Yes.
all tiers, we're
Yes.
still, so I just wanted to know if there was a difference. I also was a little disappointed in the lack of data in this presentation. I would like to see some data next time, and hopefully we could just distinguish, each tiers to see more. I know as you're putting together those processes, I know we have a data team that we can maybe develop some more data-driven results, because I would like to see some of the successes that I know we have to capture that. I know you guys are doing it, but it would be good to have the data.
I agree, totally. Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Gately.
Tina, this is a tricky one, because you
Okay,
didn't really
I'll
cover
put on my
it.
seatbelt.
All right, so it's
Member Gately.
faculty trainings, right? But what faculty trainings? What I want to know is there anything for our actual faculty, teachers that have been going through a lot of stress since the pandemic, all the students coming in, they have their stresses. Is there anything that we are actually doing for our faculty to help them reduce their stresses or help them out? I'm saying this because my personal experience was a very good friend of mine in 2019 or 20. Department head at one of the high schools was very sick. She lost her father. She got very sick. She was dwindling like to a bag of bones, and then she just passed away. But there was no support. No one helped her. It was like they might have told her to go get help, but I'm wondering if there is that help to help our teachers so that if they're hitting this wall or hitting something, that they can actually get some help. I don't know if that's a huge issue with people, but I often wondered, is there help, like other than to talk to a principal or talk to the VP or the department head, like our teachers have been under a lot of stress.
I absolutely agree.
And I just think that they deserve some social, emotional.
Sure. Well, I do want to say that no social worker would ever turn away a teacher asking for help. And I won't give specifics because it would not be appropriate, but there have been many times that our people have come alongside a person and talked them through a very tricky situation and made connections with services. What we do have in the Lynn Public Schools is our employee assistance program, and that's run through HR. So it's always a good reminder, and sometimes adults don't realize this because if they haven't gone down a path of needing some mental health services. I was talking with one educator, and I just said, we're going to slow down, we're going to take a breath, and I want you to pull out your medical card, and I said, now turn it over. And I said, what does it say about mental health? And the person read it back. I said, you start there. You have health insurance. You have access. And she was like, I've never looked on the back side of my card. And I said, yeah, there's a range of services there. So I talked that person through that process, and they were very grateful and so forth. As far as professional development around the wellness for our teachers, I think that's excellent, and it's something that we can look into. It is not something that we've tackled. Year 2, we've still been trying to scale up for the students post-COVID, but it's a really good point.
Even like breathing techniques or, I
Many of
don't
the
know,
schools
a walk.
always do mindful minutes and deep breathing and so forth, and we have principals that lead that and so forth. So a lot of that's going on, yes.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Member Capola.
I've heard from parents that lots of times, if their child's on an ed plan, they may, the school department will want to connect or bill through their insurance. Is any of this that's happening, like you mentioned Elliot, coming in to do, things that are on emergency services?
The Elliott work is happening through a Massachusetts Association of Mental Health grant. So
Okay.
that doesn't have anything to do with the billing. And Elliott's community-based services work with primarily Mass Health. They're not really working with more of the private pays. So I'm not sure if I'm exactly answering your question.
Well, I'm just wondering, I want parents to be aware that, if at some point, their insurance needed to be provided.
I see, yeah. I
It's
haven't,
concerning.
I'm going to be honest, I have not sat in on an IEP to know all the different processes around that, but I know of the form that you're referring to.
Yeah.
And I would have to get more information and.
Yeah,
and
no,
be
I
able
was
to
just
communicate that.
wondering in that in particular, Now, also, if we've identified a child who needs to get services from our clinicians or whoever, are we connecting at least to the pediatrician so that they're all on board together?
Yes,
so- okay.
with a release of information, we can reach out to the
Okay.
pediatrician, absolutely, to the
Yeah.
primary care.
Okay.
It takes work, very busy people. Sometimes callbacks are tricky,
Mm-hmm.
but first thing is that we work with parent permission, and they sign permission slips, and we try to connect with all the providers, the after-school programs and so forth. We want to try to get a holistic picture of what's going on with the student. But yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you so much for the presentation, and to everyone
you.
doing this work. Thank you. Thank you. Next item is a field trip request. What is the recommendation of the superintendent?
The recommendation is to approve so that Classical can actually start to build the list of students that are going to attend.
So, motion?
Second?
Make a motion that Classical High be allowed to take 12 students, grade 9 to 12, to England and France, July 7th to July 19th, 2024.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Next item is the New Pickering Middle School proprietary items.
So with procurement laws in Massachusetts, we're required to have material specifications for public bid contract projects, and all of this has to be in writing. You do have a letter in your packets that specifies the actual items that I'm going to point you to. And so on page 2, if we would go there, and then we can ask questions as appropriate. So there are 6 items that we're requesting. Does everyone locate it? I'll give you a minute. So there are 6 items that we're requesting on the back page to ensure that are waived from the actual requirements that would traditionally be in place. And one is the access control system, meaning that we are district-wide looking at bringing in the Verkada system for all schools. And so that would take the place of that. The video management system for cameras and recording, the public entrance intercom system, which is also video system. It's sort of like the one that we have here We've been piloting that in the entrance of Bennett Street, where you get your picture taken, right, on an iPad. And so that has some facial recognition and artificial intelligence features, which follows you around the building. And so we've been tracking data on that so that we can do that within our schools. Then we have the intrusion detection system that's connected to that as well, because it does do, like I said, facial and physical detail recognition. Then we have the visitor management system, where those that check in, right, are also screened for any potential threats. And then we have the door hardware and lock cylinder as well, which is basically the sergeant degree. And we have an opportunity to ask questions this evening. If you could please introduce yourselves to the school committee.
Absolutely. Thank you, Superintendent. So my name is Craig DiCarlo, and I'm here with my colleague Tim Baker tonight, along with Lynn Stapleton, who's the project executive for the Pickering Middle School project. We're here from left field, and the superintendent did a great job describing the concept, what the project is looking for. In Massachusetts, to back up half a step, to give you a little context, in Massachusetts, state law requires in publicly bid construction projects to maximize competition. And the way they do that is project teams will specify 3 brands for every item that goes into the building. So that's one way to do it. Another way is to describe what is needed, looking for 3 companies that can do it. But in certain circumstances, such as security, when it's in the interest of the public, a group such as yourself can opt to have proprietary specifications, which is for a specific product. So that's the background. That's why we're here tonight, and that's what we're looking to do. As we know, security is a huge focus with public schools in today's environment, and having your security systems integrate properly and work together to provide proper security is critically important. And the way that the design team and the project team recommends doing that is by selecting a single manufacturer to provide all these bits and pieces that together give you a full secure building. And then not only so what we're looking for tonight is just for the Pickering Middle School, but the concept is that these products would also be rolled out over time to the other schools in Lynn, so that training is optimized. It's easier to train, right, because all of your personnel are working with one system. It's easier to maintain. It's easier to repair. And so there are efficiencies which are the justification for reducing competition and paying a premium. So
questions? Thank you so much. Thank you. Questions from the committee, Member Magnolia.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I just have a question about the efficacy of the Verkada system, specifically with the facial recognition and AI when it comes to black and brown faces, because we know that this is a problematic area for facial recognition technology. Can you just speak about the efficacy of Verkada specifically given our student population?
that is a great question and a very important point. I do not have the knowledge. Left field, I do not believe, has the knowledge to speak competently about that. But that is something that we can ask the design team to help us provide information, and we can send that through the school department to make sure that you all receive it.
Thank you.
I just would like to share that prior to selecting a system, we had a large group, and this was back in the spring, with the chief, as well as our SRO and tech IT. There were a number of professionals that came together to vet this product and to also do a lot of the comparing to what is out there of a similar caliber of a product. So that it was selected for that reason.
I totally understand the expertise of the folks who did it. I think my concern is that efficacy of a product, if it's not specifically tailored to our population, is maybe less efficacious. So that's why I just would like to check into that, because I think, obviously there's different types of these products in different places, right? Like
Specific question.
who's going to be in the subway in Japan and Tokyo is going to be not the same facial recognition technology as is rolled out in London. I was there last year, there were the cameras everywhere, right? So I just want to make sure that this specific product has the highest standard for racial demographics given our student population, because that seems like the kind of thing that is easy to fix before it gets started.
We'll certainly look into it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to be clear, that it's a great question. We should look into it and follow up on it. Before us here is, do we want to make sure we have the same system that we already have at Pickering and the other schools? So we can do both those things and make sure that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Was that Member Castellanos? Yeah.
Yeah, did I hear there was some contractual implications that we have to expand into the other schools? What if, are there any, I was just a little confused.
Yeah,
on the premium that you said premium and cost. I just want to make sure I got that right.
Yeah, so the Verkada system is what's in the budget now that we voted last year. So this is the system we have and are implementing throughout the Lynn Public Schools, and we're just saying, because we have to procure everything for Pickering, rather than doing a separate procurement for this technology that's already in the other schools, we're just going to go with the existing vendor.
Oh, good. Okay, I thought it was in addition. I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
No, it's a good question.
And I appreciate the vetting beforehand. I think having folks from the building commissioner, fire, police department. I think next time it'd be good to have someone from was there anyone else from the school committee or anyone else involved in that process, or was it?
I think school, well, the mayor was
there
part of
as
it.
the
mayor
chair.
was there.
Okay.
Sorry, yes,
All
the
right,
mayor was there.
No, well, I just wanted to ask, because I was like, I didn't see mayor or anything.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, I was there.
Yeah. Or chairman of Buildings and Grounds, which is Member Gately, so I think next time, I don't know.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the new Pickering Middle School proprietary items.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll entertain a motion to amend the agenda to move the executive session last.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. So superintendent's report. Or no, targeted communications information.
Yes. So the Targeted Assistance Grant is a Mass DESI grant that we originally had a $100,000 for 5 total schools. But given our MCAS results that came back from last spring, we've been identified to receive an additional $300,000, which brings us to $400,000 to address 14 total schools. To date, having received this and knowing this information and having disaggregated the data, we haven't named the schools, but we do have detailed information. And so I just want to point out that we have 3 schools, right, that only have specific subgroups of students that are identified, as you have in the letter, which are specifically Pickering and Druitt's, and then Fecto Leary just for participation, and then our 11 schools that are falling below the 10th percentile currently are the ones that will receive specific targeted support with these funds, right? So it's Cobbett, Connery, Ford, Hood, Harrington, Ingalls, Washington, Breed, Thurgood Marshall, Lynn Classical, and Lynn English. All of those schools were identified by DESI as in need of assistance. So that's what the funds will be for. And so the 4 real around the theory of action around this is really to support capacity and teacher efficacy and content knowledge to support our language learners. The second one is to provide targeted extended learning based on student data, and we already launched our data dashboard. The third would be to monitor school culture and climate through surveys, as well as our data from our learners, research an instructional model that has proven us successful with multilingual language learners. And the last being really just to ensure that we're able to use all of these things coherently, right? So it is a work in progress. We've already launched some of these initiatives we're already in November, and of course, time is of the essence, and there is urgency, right, behind making sure that our students receive the interventions. So I wanted to give you an update on that communication. And that, actually, just to, continue on with the minority enrollment report that you get monthly, if you'd look at just the updated numbers, we're currently at 89% minorities. So we continue to climb in the percentage of minorities that are in attendance in our schools. Right. And so as you see, having those multilingual language learner targeted assistance points is definitely something that we need to do at this time. And the superintendent's report. So November is a month filled with gratitude for the incredible community that makes up our school district. Observing Veterans Day allows our city and our nation to pause and express profound gratitude to the men and women who have selflessly served in the U.S. Armed Forces. It's a day to honor their courage, dedication, and the sacrifices they've made to protect the freedoms we hold dear. And so wishing all of the veterans out there in our community a happy Veterans Day this weekend. And I know we have celebrations at City Hall, so I'm excited to attend those as well. We will also bring National Homeless Youth Awareness Month to the forefront to shed light on this pressing issue affecting countless young people across our nation. Homelessness among youth is a profound challenge, often hidden from plain sight, and this observance serves as a call to action. We must not only acknowledge the plight of our most vulnerable youth, but also work collectively to address the root causes and provide support systems and opportunities for homeless youth to reclaim their lives and reach their full potential. By raising awareness, we can foster empathy, inspire change, and strive for a future where no young person has to experience these hardships of homelessness. In the spirit of Thanksgiving, let us remember the importance of giving back to our community. Many of our schools will be participating in food drives and charity events and in need of volunteers for those activities. I want to express our appreciation for the dedication and hard work of our educators, staff, students, and families. Through your collective efforts, our schools continue to thrive and provide an environment for growth and learning. From November 13th through the 17th, the National Education Association will host American Education Week, Together for Safe, Just, and Equitable Schools. This week, LPS will recognize families, support staff, educators, and substitutes. Thanksgiving is an excellent opportunity to instill the values of empathy and kindness in our students. We encourage everyone to get involved and positively impact the lives of those in need during this holiday season. By fostering a culture of gratitude and service, we enrich the lives of others and further enhance our students' character development. In closing, we do want to acknowledge Ms. Jane Franklin, who will retire from Lynn Public Schools after 50 years of service. She leaves a legacy for others to follow and will be missed by all those whose lives she touched. We are grateful for her dedication to the Sisson community and just wanted to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. So now we need a motion to enter executive session. If you could list the 3 items there.
I move that we request that we go into executive session to approve executive session minutes from October 12th, 2023, that we can discuss strategies with respect to collective bargaining relative to LSAA, the discussion of these matters of which involve strategy in an open meeting, which may have a detrimental effect on on and compromise the bargaining position of the public body, and that we go into executive session for contract negotiations with non-union personnel, the assistant principal.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you. For an extra one of the. Oh, here, I'll give it to you before. Thank you.
Watching.
I will get you that.